has done in the last 5.5 years is nothing less than a miracle.
The man overseeing 2 major transit projects in Toronto has given his 2 weeks' notice. Phil Verster is resigning as president and CEO of Metrolinx. We'll get to that story in a moment, but first, a state of emergency remains in Gravenhurst after a punishing snowstorm in cottage country. Highways are now starting to reopen. Let's go to our Rahim Ladani right now, who's covering the situation that has been happening to our north. Definitely not some snow here in the GTA, but it has been a big workload for folks digging out.
Michelle and Sean, good evening. You're absolutely right, Michelle. It certainly has been quite an ordeal. Take a look at some of these pictures coming out of Gravenhurst. In fact, we spoke with one woman who said her husband is 6 feet tall and the snow was coming all the way up to his armpit. That's how significant of a snow event this has been, and several towns are just beginning the process of cleaning up.
There's what's left of our green building. It collapsed and our pontoon boat is under there.
While the snow has stopped, the damage is done. Those in Ontario's cottage country now stepping up to help their neighbors dig out.
Since Friday, we've cleared out probably 22 to 24 driveways, plus helping people out.
I'm hoping everyone gets through it. So there were a lot of neighbors to help. I have a tractor, fortunately.
The town of Gravenhurst came to a standstill after 140 centimeters of snow, or 4.5 feet, fell over the weekend. Hundreds of cars were abandoned, others stuck on the road overnight. Premier Doug Ford says his phone is filled with messages from people who had been stranded.
An elderly mother that called up and texted me on my cell phone and said my son's girlfriend is stuck in the snow and they're trying to get help.
Monday afternoon, anxious drivers waited for Highway 11 to reopen.
There's no other way unless you're going on all these windy, hilly roads, and it's so dangerous, where you could end up in a lake.
Traffic has since started moving again, thanks in part to reinforcements. Equipment has been brought in from Toronto's Pearson International Airport to help move all of the snow.
We've also got a lot of snowpack accumulation and ice pack that we're waiting for that ice to melt. But again, conditions have been favorable.
Improved weather has allowed cleanup efforts to progress, but across the Muskoka region, life is far from back to normal.
School buses can't get out onto the roads, and obviously we want to make sure that people are safe, so no school.
A day off from the classroom, but this outdoor recess is more work than fun. The latest on Highway 11 is that the southbound lanes are still closed, and OPP say it'll stay that way for another couple of hours. As for electricity, Hydro One says there are still around 16,000 customers without power. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. Returning to our top story now, Phil Verster tendered his resignation today in order to take on a new position.
The announcement comes after some recent positive news from Metrolinx indicating that the Eglinton Crosstown LRT could open sometime next year. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has been following this story and joins us live with more. Siobhan?
Well, the potential opening of the Eglinton Crosstown in 2025 might sound positive, but of course it's way behind schedule, and that long delay has led to loud calls for Phil Verster to either resign or be fired. Today we're hearing some words of appreciation from the Premier, but the opposition says, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
After more than 7 years at the helm of Metrolinx, Phil Verster is seeing himself out. The beleaguered president and CEO resigning to take a new job.
It's unfortunate. I was one of his biggest supporters. What he has done in the last 5.5 years is nothing less than a miracle, building 4 lines, $70 billion in transit. We're going to miss him.
But the opposition points out all the builds Verster has overseen have been mired in delays, cost overruns, and unclear opening dates.
Today is a victory for transparency.
There's been a lot of frustration, anger even, over a common refrain from Verster.
I'll give you a date 3 months in advance.
Unable to commit to an opening day for the Eglinton Crosstown. Trains not yet cleared to carry passengers on the light rail line.
The multi-billion-dollar Eglinton Crosstown began construction in 2011. It's a teenager now.
A project riddled with mistakes down to how the track was laid, fights in court, and now software glitches.
Why has this government let Metrolinx Phil Verster continue to drive this train, overrun, and over budget and over delayed.
The Premier is also frustrated by delays, but
Can you criticize someone because there was a problem, and everyone knows there was a problem?
Doug Ford protective of Verster's $1 million pay, too, saying he'd been offered much more to do similar work elsewhere.
In my opinion, he was underpaid, if anything.
Michael Lindsay will head up Metrolinx on an interim basis. Right now, he's in charge of Infrastructure Ontario.
Change does come from the top in these organizations when you have new leadership, hopefully a new spirit of collaboration.
Lindsay's top priority is getting the Eglinton Crosstown open as soon as it's safe to do so. For now, Torontonians will have to keep waiting for that train.
Today, the NDP renewed their call for a public inquiry into the Eglinton Crosstown project to understand what's gone so wrong and how to keep it from happening again. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. With the threat of new U.S. tariffs looming, the Ford government has launched an ad campaign south of the border, pushing Ontario as an ally to the north.
For generations, this ally to the north has been by your side. Ontario, Canada. A partner connected by shared history, shared values, and a shared vision for what we can achieve together.
Premier Doug Ford shared this minute-long video on social media today. The province says the ad will run during primetime NFL games on Fox, as well as airports in Washington over the holidays. It will also continue to run into the new year. The Premier's pitch for stronger Ontario-U.S. relations comes after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatened to impose 25% tariffs on all Canadian and Mexican goods.
I've always said I support anything that's going to actually promote Ontario's economic interests in the United States. I don't want these to be vanity ads. The government's already spending millions, tens of millions of dollars on Doug Ford's vanity ads. We don't need more of that. But I'd support ads that defend our economic interests in the U.S. for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, the Premier has missed the opportunity to create relationships in the United States with governors and trade commissioners and forge alliances with different CEOs that could have been investing in Canada.
The province has not yet released the cost of the ad campaign.
More news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city tonight. It's been a cool but seasonal start to the first full week of December, but we do know there is snow on the way. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jess?
It is seasonal and seasonable. Both are correct. It is a little bit chilly out there, though, and that northwesterly wind is adding that bit of freshness. So a layer or two or three, a good idea if you are planning to spend some time outside. We're still watching for a little snow along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, but for the most part, we are staying at least dry here in the GTA. Still seeing a number of snow squall watches and warnings, expanding now to different parts of Ontario as another system is set to make its way in as we wrap up the day. Temperature-wise, it's not the worst, but it is going to get cooler as the week goes on. Coming up, your full forecast right now. It's back over to Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Police say alcohol was a factor in a crash in Peterborough, which seriously injured a young child. Officers were called to a single vehicle rollover on Country Road 2 around 6 p.m. last night. They found the car on its roof in a ditch. A 3-year-old child was taken to a local hospital before being airlifted to a facility in Toronto. A 7-year-old child in the vehicle was not seriously injured. The 35-year-old driver was arrested and charged with impaired driving, causing bodily harm.
Toronto police have released pictures of a man wanted in an assault investigation. 48-year-old Jason Stacey is wanted for allegedly taking part in an assault and robbery near Danforth and Pape on November 18th. Police say the victim was speaking to one of the suspects when a second suspect attacked them from behind with a blunt object. The victim was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Stacey is described as standing 5'10", with a shaved head as well as facial hair and a musical note tattoos on his forearm and a tribal face on his right forearm. A new report from Feed Ontario finds around 40% of the food banks in the province are scaling back their services.
This report reveals usage has surpassed the capacity and resources of Ontario's food bank network. CTV's Mike Walker has been following the story. He joins us live with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Sean, food banks across the province, including the Daily Bread here in Toronto, say they are struggling to meet the surging and record high demand, which is forcing them to distribute less food to their clients. The report also found that half of Ontario's food banks are making cuts to other support programs. At food banks across the province, the demand is unprecedented. a double-digit increase from a year ago, a demand they say outpaces supply.
We are seeing the community come together and support Daily Bread and other food banks, but it's not at the rate that client growth has been increasing, to 36% increase year over year.
Forcing the Daily Bread Food Bank, which supports 129 agencies across the city, to make a difficult decision. The CEO says they are now cutting back the amount of food clients receive each visit.
They normally would get 3 days worth of food. It's going to be 2.7 days worth of food. It's a 10% reduction, and it means that that individuals are receiving one less meal that they need.
According to a new Feed Ontario report, 40% of food banks in the province have scaled back the food they provide. The report found that 1 million Ontarians accessed food banks between April 2023 and March of this year, a 25% increase from the previous year. 43% were first-time clients.
The food bank network is unraveling. You know, they were never meant to withstand this level of demand. They're being stretched to their limit and they can't keep up.
It's been a lifeline for Ryan Patchison since the pandemic.
That makes such a huge difference when you have nothing.
He's on ODSP and says even a 10% reduction will have a huge impact.
And losing access to the help, it makes it almost impossible for us to get ourselves out of this mess.
The report also found that 50% of food banks have cut wraparound services such as home food delivery and employment training programs due to a lack of resources.
Whether that is people that are restricting hours, whether that is fewer amounts of food that is going out, whether that is just a shortage of volunteers.
Feed Ontario reports that 1 in 4 food bank users are employed, with 42% reporting they earn minimum wage or less.
Once used to be potentially donors to the food bank, now turning to them for support, just really demonstrating the breadth of need and demand. They're meant to be an emergency mechanism. They're not meant to be a long-term solution.
Food banks urging changes to government policies to address food insecurity, including more investments in affordable housing and improvements to the Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support programs.
Right now, it's wholly inadequate, and they are legislated to live in deep poverty.
At this rate, food banks warn the demand will only get worse. And with that demand expected to only grow, food banks are warning that there could be further reductions in the new year. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Taking on the top job at Toronto Fire, Deputy Chief Jim Jessup will move to the helm 1 month from today.
The new chief, no stranger to the service after growing up in the fire hall. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the story.
That is my father on the balcony.
It was 35 years ago this month that a fatal fire ripped through a rooming house at Parliament and Queen 2 days before Christmas.
The picture shows exactly the conditions the firefighters were met.
Scaling the building to save the lives of those inside was Jim Jessup's dad.
The people that were my heroes growing up were not on Saturday morning cartoons. They were the firefighters on my father's truck.
Fast forward a few decades, and Jessup is not only following in his father's footsteps.
Thank you.
He has just been named chief of the service he grew up in.
If you had asked me back on May 21st of 1996 when I started at this academy, would I be the chief of the Toronto Fire Service? Never would have dreamed it.
But the top job of the largest fire service in the country will belong to him come January 2nd. What Jessup sees as the biggest chance to champion the frontline staff with tools, training, and support services.
This job is hard. It really is. The scenes that our women and men are asked to attend, the phone calls our people take in our communication center, and I want to make sure that they have all the supports they have, that they like coming to work, that they feel respected and valued.
Jessup served as acting fire chief during the height of the pandemic, leading the charge in improving equity in recruitment and promotions. As deputy chief, he has led the service's response to some of the worst fires and incidents the city has seen in recent years.
The vertical city is going to continue to be our greatest challenge going forward. Everything is being densified and going vertical, and that affects everything from fighting fires, probably upwards of 100 stories in the sky, to the crane collapses we have had lately.
The new chief humbled by the role ahead and proud of all the people he will soon lead.
Every time that bell rings, picking that phone up, making sure that at 3 a.m. the fire trucks are rolling.
For Jessup, a dream job that was decades in the making.
To me, family is everything, and this is my second family.
Born and bred, Toronto Fire. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
Still to come, the ongoing impact of the Canada Post strike. We'll have more on the U.S. Postal Service asking for packages not to be sent to Canada. That's a little later in the broadcast.
But first, criticism today from Canada's Auditor General over a COVID-19 era program. Karen Hogan says CEBA, which helped give loans to small businesses, was badly mismanaged. CTV's Mike Lecouteur reports.
The Canada Emergency Business Account, or CEBA, was a loan program that handed out $49 billion and helped keep 900,000 small businesses going during the pandemic. But in a new report tabled today, the Auditor General of Canada said the Department of Finance didn't have effective oversight to ensure there was value for money. Now, Karen Hogan does point out at a time when so many small businesses were closing, the program was a lifeline for many during the COVID-19 emergency. Export Development Canada was the Crown Corporation that ran CEBA, but EDC farmed out the administration of the program on a single-source contract to global IT firm Accenture. Hogan noted $3.5 billion went to businesses that weren't eligible for the loans. And Hogan is concerned with EDC's statement that recouping money would be challenging and come with a significant cost.
EDC first needs to identify if these businesses are really ineligible and then decide whether or not recovery is going to happen. If the government doesn't want to recover, I expect that they're just going to be clear and transparent with Canadians.
As of March of this year, $8.5 billion in loans had yet to be repaid. In a statement, the Finance Minister and Minister of Small Business didn't address the repayment questions, pointing instead to the nearly 900,000 businesses helped by the program. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
The U.S. Postal Service has temporarily suspended accepting mail headed to Canada as a result of the ongoing Canada Post workers' strike. U.S. customers have been asked to refrain from mailing items to Canada. The move comes as Canada Post says it has presented the Canadian Union of Postal Workers with a framework to return to the bargaining table. The union says its negotiators are reviewing the proposal. Canada Post workers have been off the job since November 15th. Well, pressure is mounting on the Liberal government to find an answer to the border issues that Donald Trump is promising massive 25% tariffs over.
Ottawa is promising new aerial supports and resources. Details are still short on what that will look like. CTV's Colton Prale has more.
Canada's ambassador to the United States says the incoming Trump administration really understands that the situation at the Canadian border is very different than the challenges posed on the U.S.-Mexico border. But still, sources say there were no assurances that the tariffs could be avoided. It has politicians of all stripes now focusing on increasing border security as quickly as possible. After meeting with Donald Trump and members of his incoming administration in Florida Friday, Canada's public safety minister is promising helicopters, drones, and more personnel to improve border security. But as Canada races against the inauguration clock, timelines for the new additions, costs, and even specifics on what type of technology will be acquired and how it will help, all still have yet to be determined.
We're not going to bring the shopping list of exactly what models of drones we're going to buy or what kind of helicopter, 2 engines, 1 engine. When we have details of what additional equipment will arrive, we'll be happy to share them with you.
LeBlanc wouldn't commit to expanding CBSA patrols to the land in between borders, which is currently policed by the RCMP. Last week, the RCMP announced it's looking to redeploy up to a quarter of its workforce in Quebec and the Atlantic provinces to high-priority areas, including the Canada-US border. Meanwhile, provinces like Quebec and Alberta have offered to support border protection initiatives, with Premier Danielle Smith promising a provincial border force. Colton Prale, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada has added another group to its list of terrorist entities. Ansarallah is better known as the
perpetrated by Ansarallah in the Red Sea threaten civilian lives and global supply chains, and we stand with the United States in using every tool at our disposal to hold this group and backers to account.
Ansarallah is better known as the Houthi militant group. It has launched numerous attacks on civilian and naval vessels in the Red Sea since November 2023. The Houthis have also worked closely with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah. Both are listed terrorist entities. Under Canadian law, the designation allows for criminal penalties against any person or group that knowingly deals with a listed entity. The U.S. listed Ansarallah as a terrorist group in January.
U.S. President Joe Biden is overseas after pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, late yesterday. Biden is in Angola, marking his first visit to sub-Saharan Africa. Meanwhile, U.S. First Lady Jill Biden spoke with reporters following a Christmas event at the White House this morning, saying she supports her husband's decision. Yesterday's pardon came after the president had repeatedly stated he would not pardon or commute sentences for his son. Hunter Biden was due to face sentencing for convictions on tax and firearms-related charges.
Winnipeg celebrated its 150th anniversary over the weekend, and doing so in a particularly Canadian fashion.
Hockey brings us together, right? Like, hockey's one of those great things. Doesn't matter where you come from, different backgrounds. Once you hit the ice, we're all the same. We're all on the same team.
It's usually when we're talking to one another as politicians, we're usually dealing with big issues. So it's nice to be able to come out and just have some fun.
Winnipeg's mayor and city councillors faced off against Manitoba's premier and members of provincial government in a friendly hockey match. The city dominated the province, winning the game 6-0. The last time the two sides played a friendly game was way back in 1974.
Coming up, the final chapter in a neighborhood rink rift. A Markham man's enormous backyard passion project dismantled following a years-long dispute.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, they're a popular present around the holidays, gift cards. But unfortunately, scammers are working overtime, draining gift cards of their value, so the one you give or get could be worthless. I'll have what you need to know. That's just ahead.
Obviously, we are cooling down as we settle into a brand new month. A cold spot today, minus 16.5 for our friends in Muskoka, also dealing with a ton of snow. Active weather on the way to the rest of the province as we hit that middle point of the week. I'll have your full forecast coming up, and stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Gift cards are practical and easy present to give over the holidays, and many are used without any problems.
But gift cards can be tampered with by criminals who drain their value, leaving them a worthless piece of plastic. Pat Foran has our story tonight on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Sean and Michelle. Almost every week we hear from viewers who have received gift cards that turn out to be empty. It's called the gift card drain scam. Criminals tamper with gift cards, so when they're loaded with cash, they'll get the money.
My aunt gave me this gift card as a present.
Catherine Achita of Mississauga was given a $250 Visa gift card, but she says when she went to use it to buy a jacket, it was almost empty.
I decided to take a look at the gift card amount, and it said that I had $1.50 left in it, but I had never used it before.
Stranger still, the gift card had transactions on it that were made far from where she lived.
It had said I had made transactions in Hamilton and in Etobicoke, but I hadn't been to either location.
Gift card fraud is a huge problem, and it generally gets worse around the holidays. It's known as the drain scam, and here's how it works. Criminals go to a store, copy the card number and bar activation code, then reseal the package. They may also place fake barcode stickers on the cards. When the card is activated, the money that's added goes to the scammer instead of the card that was purchased. Before you buy any gift card, you have to inspect it carefully.
Run your finger over the card. Does it look like a sticker has been put over the barcode? Does it look like the package was opened and then maybe glued back together?
To protect yourself from gift card fraud, examine gift cards before buying them. If it looks tampered with, don't buy it. Buy gift cards that are behind the counter or online, and save your receipt in case there's a problem. In Achita's case, she was able to file a dispute with Visa, and they agreed to give her a replacement card. It's supposed to be in the mail, but with the postal strike, she's not sure when she'll get it. As for gift cards, she's concerned about being scammed again.
It really worries me that someone might, spend their hard-earned money, or someone who really needs that $250 or whatever amount they might be getting, they might not get it at all because it will be gone before they even know it.
And if you get a gift card, you should use it as soon as possible in case there's a problem, but also because many gift cards are forgotten about in wallets and desk drawers. Last year, it's estimated $35 million worth of gift cards were never redeemed. On your side,
I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, as they continue to dig out to the north here in the city and the many parts of the GTA, not too bad. Dry roads, we saw a little bit of sun. I think for us it's the cool and the potential for snow coming this week.
Yeah, we know it's coming. We've seen what's coming all around us.
Yeah.
It feels like we got to get ready.
It's kind of knocking on the door. It kind of hit the brakes at about Waterloo region over the weekend. We still saw a few light flurries, but we are looking at likely our first, I'm not going to call it a major snow event because it's honestly only maybe 2 to 5 centimeters, but the first real noticeable one, and that always does something to a bit of a shock to the system, right? When you see that first snow, and it always impacts that commute. So this is your heads up Wednesday and Thursday to give yourself some extra time, winter tires or not. But we've seen our temperatures, at least to start the week, fairly seasonal, and it feels cold in comparison to how warm it has been as we made our way through the month of November. But really, as we transition into the rest of this week, it remains a little fresh, a little cool. But hey, it's just kind of where we should be finally for this time of year. Holding on to just some cloud cover tonight. We're sitting at 0 right now. It feels like -4, but there are portions of our province with wind chills into the -20 range. We're not there just yet. No need to panic, but it is a little bit cool. We're looking at it feeling like -4 here in the city, like -3 through Windsor, North Bay, like -9. Anywhere kind of Moosonee and west, it is a little bit cooler. So again, it is a busy travel time, whether you're going from north to south, east to west. Have that emergency kit in your car just in case there's ever an incident. As we head into this evening, we'll sit at -4, a very seasonal point, just a hint of a wind chill. But we're looking at those double-digit wind chills starting to pop up in southern Ontario as well. And skin can freeze. Frostbite can happen very quickly when you get those wind chill values that are kind of in that double-digit range. So layer up accordingly if you do have outdoor plans. Into the day tomorrow, again, on the seasonal range of things, we're sitting at about 2 degrees. It'll feel like -3. We are cloudy tomorrow. Wednesday is the day where we look at the first kind of round of real noticeable snow in the GTA. Areas say through Halton, they've already seen it. But for the downtown core, Toronto proper, we're likely to see that roll in as we head through our Wednesday. Still seeing snow squall watches and warnings and winter travel advisories expanding across parts of central Ontario, northern Ontario, and now for southern Ontario, as another system right now sitting in the prairies, cooking up, is making its way towards us. Right now, we're just holding on to this trough that's kind of brought some leftover flurries throughout the day today. It is that low that will push a chunk of snow into northern Ontario. We don't get the heaviest here in southern Ontario, but still something that will be noticeable, that will actually require some shoveling. As we head into our Tuesday, though, some sunshine to start the day, and honestly, it's not too bad, all things considered. A little cloud cover in the afternoon, the snow staying north of us. It's as we head into our Wednesday morning, just in time for the commute for a lot of people, so give yourself extra time, especially when it comes to traveling, whether you're on transit or you're taking the car. The snow on and off throughout the day on Wednesday, our day Thursday as well. We get a little break into Friday, some sunshine returns, but it stays cool, so bundle up over the next 7 days. Sean, Michelle.
Thanks, Jess. Well, our Toy Mountain campaign is well underway with donations coming in from across the city.
CTV's Andrea Case visited Winchester Public School, where they are running their own toy drive. Have a look.
Oh my goodness, look at this beautiful Ford Maverick pickup truck. Hello, Darcy. Hello, Aaron. How are you? How are you? Get over here, Darcy, and let's talk. Okay, week 2 of Toy Mountain. Aaron, where were we last week and where are we going this week?
Yes, we were at St. Ambrose School and we were at Sunnybrook School. They were so wonderful and exciting and enthusiastic about the school toy drive program presented by Toronto Area Ford dealers. This week, we are at Wesley Christian Academy and we're also at Winchester Public School, and we're so thrilled to be going out that way and seeing what toys they've collected.
Okay, we know how we're getting there. We're going to drive in this beautiful pickup. Tell us about this pickup, Darcy, for the folks that don't know that they can actually win this. Well, not this one, but one just like it.
Just like it. This is a 2024 Maverick pickup, and it's the vehicle that we'll be giving away for our Toy Mountain contest at our 23 dealerships in the GTA. So, if you donate a toy at one of our dealerships before December 13th, you can enter a ballot, and who knows, you might take this vehicle home.
Wow. What's special about this vehicle? I mean, it looks great, but what's different this year?
Well, it's a new vehicle for us. It's the smallest pickup that we have in our lineup, and it's very compact, but rides great for carting stuff around. And the one that we're giving away is a hybrid.
Wow. And so when you give it away, do they have it for a year or 2 years, or how does it work?
They own it. When they win the car, they own it.
Wow. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm sure the kids are very excited about the whole program. Why did you decide to get the kids involved this year?
Yeah, we saw them coming out to our live broadcast last year as part of the campaign, hosting their own, toy initiatives in their schools and their classrooms, and we wanted to, pay them a special visit, encourage them, and champion their efforts in building a toy mountain. So excited to out that way and inspiring a younger generation to give back and do something good for their neighbors.
Okay, well, the clock is ticking on the Toy Mountain campaign. We want to build a mountain of toys, so let's get going.
All right.
Am I driving this week?
I'm driving.
Oh, let's go. Hi, everybody. How are you? Good. Why did you kids want to take part in the Toy Mountain campaign?
It's so important to give back to our community and to provide toys for kids who don't get things at Christmas. And so these guys have done such a great job in advertising and collecting for that.
Okay, and so, Carly, you have a reason that you're here. Not only are you on the board for the Toronto Area 4 dealers, but your kids also go to the school.
Yes, both of my kids go here. So it was amazing when Winchester was chosen as one of the schools for you guys to come and visit. And I'm so proud of you guys for collecting all these toys.
And we can't forget Darcy, because of course Darcy drove us here. Darcy, how impressed are you with these kids?
Well, very impressed. I mean, every time you get to one of these schools and you see what they've done and you hear them talk about the importance of raising toys for Salvation Army, it just makes you feel really good. And I'm looking forward to going inside to see what they've been able to do over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, kids, lead the way. Let's go.
If you want to donate to Toy Mountain or drop off a new unwrapped toy at participating malls or one of 23 Toronto Area 4 dealers, or visit toymountain.ca and click Toronto to find a drop-off location near you. You can also text TOYS to 30333 to automatically donate $25.
A backyard rink at the center of a neighborhood dispute in Markham has been dismantled.
I still haven't got over the fact, especially with the temperature the way it is. I mean, you couldn't have better weather than this right now for an outdoor rink. And it's not even how I feel, it's how my kids feel. They're going to miss the rink. They love the rink, and any of their friends that would come and use it. You couldn't ask for better conditions. There's no sun, because sun is what, kills the rink. The temperature isn't freezing, but it's nice, and, it's got a freshness to it. And these kids would be out here on this rink enjoying it right now.
The rink in Martin Ross's backyard has been subject to a years-long dispute between himself, his neighbors, and the city of Markham. He lives in Unionville, and his home carries a heritage designation. Neighbors have expressed anger about Ross's overhaul of his property, including cutting down several large trees to make room for the large rink. Ross says he signed an agreement with the city of Markham back in November, stating he would remove the rink or potentially face a charge of $350,000.
There's no permits needed. Just tell me why you don't want the rink. I know the reason why, but I want to hear the city give me some logical written explanation. The only thing they've gone off of is what's called my heritage easement agreement. They crammed it under there, and they've never said why they don't want it, even though it was approved or supported by their own heritage staff. Just tell me why.
Ross says he was told inspectors from the city of Markham were supposed to visit today to survey the work he has done, but were canceled at the last minute due to unforeseen circumstances. Ross says he will now need to find space to store the pieces of the rink or potentially sell it.
Also tonight, Oxford reveals its word of the year. It's actually 2 words, and it's something you might have even experienced this year amid endless scrolling online.
A new research initiative is looking at the role of social media in youth mental health.
And hockey star Jennifer Botterill is speaking out to help promote the work. Our health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Olympic gold medalist Jennifer Botterill says our understanding of women's brain health has grown since her hockey playing days.
I just think there's so much more knowledge now in terms of concussions or injuries or protecting our brains.
She was a keynote speaker at the annual fundraiser for the Women's Brain Health Initiative.
The funds that are raised will help further research about the impact of social media, specifically on our youth. If we think about the amount of access that our youth have to devices, to screens, to social media, and we know there is an impact, but to understand more thoroughly what that impact is on the long term.
Usually on social media, I'm just like looking to, I guess, text my friends or like look at what they're doing, things like that.
Student representatives Aaliyah Sos and Sydney Grant have both taken Brainable, a course to teach teens about social media, sleep, and other aspects of brain health.
And I've started setting boundaries for myself, like I can't use my phone before I do my homework, and I don't use it like an hour or two before bed.
And Grant says it has helped.
Because like I'm doing my schoolwork before, honestly I wasn't, and I was like putting it aside, and it has helped with sleeping because like I'm not tempted to go on my phone, not like putting it down and being like, oh, I'll just go on it for a little bit longer.
We know that social media can particularly impact girls. They may be more vulnerable to the stressors as well as the social comparisons that social media can offer.
And Dr. Emma Dourdan says it can result in mental health problems like anxiety and depression.
In Canada and the US, there has been an increase in mental health issues in teens. And it has been associated with social media use and cell phone use, but not directly. So these are very complex.
The Women's Brain Health Initiative hopes better education of youth and their families can help.
The Brainable program was initially funded by the government and then by philanthropists, but that funding has run out. So the organizers are hoping that the government will return to funding Brainable. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
And speaking of brain health, as it so happens, Oxford University has named its word of the year for 2024, and it is brain rot. It defines the term as the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially from consuming too much content online. Oxford says the use of the phrase increased 230% from 2023 to 2024. It was chosen by a combination of a public vote along with expert language analysis. Brain rot beat out 5 other finalists, which included demure, slop, dynamic pricing, romanticy, and lore.
It was a long holiday weekend south of the border, and a trio of recent movie releases helped drive record ticket sales at the box office.
Setting foot on its sands would break the curse, bring our people together again.
I know what I have to do.
Moana 2 opened to the tune of $221 million across North America. That's the biggest ever opening for the 5-day stretch over U.S. Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, Wicked is still defying gravity by holding on to second place with $117.5 million. That makes it the highest-grossing musical movie adaptation ever. Gladiator 2 rounded out the top 3, bringing in $44 million.
Keep it here on CTV News. We'll have an update of your top stories and your business headlines when we return.
I was one of his biggest supporters. What he has done in the last 5.5 years is nothing less than a miracle, building 4 lines, $70 billion in transit. We're going to miss him.
Updating our top stories, Phil Verster has resigned as CEO of Metrolinx. His tenure was marked by significant delays on a number of major transit projects. Michael Lindsay has been named as the new interim president and CEO of Metrolinx.
Here, seeing the community come together and support Daily Bread and other food banks, but it's not at the rate that client growth has been increasing.
Around 40% of food banks in this province are scaling back their services, according to a new report from Feed Ontario. It says usage across the province has surpassed the capacity of resources of the province's food bank network.
People that were my heroes growing up were not on Saturday morning cartoons. They were the firefighters on my father's truck.
And CTV's Natalie Johnson sat down with incoming Fire Chief Jim Jessup today as he gets set to take the helm of Toronto Fire Service in the new year. Jessup, who comes from a family of firefighters, will officially become chief on January 2nd.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca by downloading the CTV News app. And if you ever have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
Investors are hoping for a festive end to the year with stock markets at near record highs. B&M Bloomberg's Andrew Bell brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Canadian stocks traded near a record today, and U.S. stocks hit a new high amid optimism that December, traditionally a good month for the markets, will bring more gains. U.S. stocks were lifted today by Apple, which hit a fresh peak. America's S&P 500 has jumped almost 27% this year. Toronto's benchmark index is up 22%. One optimistic market watcher said, quote, "We now find ourselves in the middle of this Goldilocks zone, where economic health supports earnings growth while remaining weak enough to justify potential Fed rate cuts." But the unpredictability of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is a risk. Exchange-traded funds in the U.S. tracking Chinese stocks saw record outflows last month as investors yanked cash out of the world's second-largest economy amid Trump's tariff threats. On the markets, the Canadian dollar was at 71.19 U.S. cents, down just over 1/5 cent. West Texas Intermediate oil traded at $68.10, up 10 cents. Our latest fix on Western Canadian Select oil, $55.38 U.S. a barrel, down 56 cents. And the TSX ended at 25,590.33, down just under 58 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Toronto Maple Leafs will be looking for a second straight win when they take on the Chicago Blackhawks tonight.
Takes a look for Matthews to 10 in, scores! Knies with the tip in front, and the Leafs strike first.
The Leafs are coming off a 5-3 win over Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday. The game saw the return of both captain Austin Matthews and forward Matthew Knies. Puck drop for tonight's game against the Blackhawks is set for just after 7:30 p.m. at Scotiabank Arena.
Meanwhile, 32 players have been invited to selection camp for Canada's World Junior Hockey team. The camp is taking place December 10th to the 13th at TD Place in Ottawa. 4 goalies, 10 defensemen, and 18 forwards have been selected by the team's management group to try out. 7 players are returning from last year's team, including Maple Leafs 2023 draft pick Easton Cowan. Dave Cameron will serve as head coach of the Canadian squad that begins play on Boxing Day against Finland. All games will be played in the nation's capital.
Tonight, deals or hype this Cyber Monday?
It's been very stressful. It's our biggest sale of the year.
Shoppers hunt for online sales, and we'll tell you why the U.S. Postal Service has suspended mail to Canada later on CTV National News.
Welcome back. The work to build a toy mountain never stops.
Let's check back in with CTV's Andrea Case at Winchester Public School.
I wanted to participate in the Toy Mountain campaign to help kids that don't have toys and who parents can't afford to buy toys this year for Christmas.
Because I am very lucky and am able to get toys. I hope other kids can enjoy that as much as I do.
Okay, so you've been on the road and now you're here. How are you feeling about Winchester?
It's amazing, and it's so great to be part of this community.
What was it like when you heard about this campaign for kids raising toys for the Salvation Army, the Toy Mountain campaign? What did you think about it, and why are you glad that the kids are doing it?
So at first I thought it was an amazing opportunity. Carly brought it to us first, and I was just so excited to be part of it and bring our kids involved. Our kids have loved making the posters, talking about the importance of making sure that everybody has some kind of a Christmas this season, and we're so excited to be able to be part of this.
Okay, Carly, it's personal for you, obviously, because you live in this area, your kids go to school here, and you also have a dealership in the area. So why are you thrilled that this campaign has now gone to this level for the kids?
Well, this is a new initiative this year for the Salvation Army to bring it to the children's level. And yes, like the Toronto area Ford dealers, this has been a passion of ours for many, many years, a couple of decades now. And it was just so important because our children have always felt the need to give back to the community. Lots of the kids in this school are quite lucky, and they know it, and they like to be able to provide it back. So it was a great opportunity to sort of roll it all together.
Happy holidays from Winchester Public School!
Okay, so we're off to the next school, Aaron.
Darcy, that Ford Maverick is looking great. Remind viewers how they can win it again?
Well, if someone comes into one of our dealerships, the 23 in the GTA, donate a toy at the dealership, and they'll give you a ballot for your chance to win this 2024 Ford Maverick.
Okay, but right now, let's get in this one and head off to our next school.
Let's go.
The toy collecting continues.
Hopefully they got some snow tires on that baby.
You know what? This is the week where, snow tires, hopefully you got them on in time because we are getting snow. Not a dumping like up north, but certainly enough where you could be slipping a bit.
Well, slipping inside, and you don't want that unless you're on the snow hill. Yes. A lot of folks are being like, my appointment's on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm like, you'll be all right if you're driving, with common sense. You have to drive according to the road and weather conditions always, especially with these first kind of serious snows, because it is always a shock to the system. But we are watching for that to come for us here in the GTA as we head through that midpoint of our week. Right now, still making its way along that eastern shoreline of Lake Huron and through Georgian Bay as well. So keep that in mind if you are having, that time of year where you're traveling up to cottage country, give yourself that time. And even with snow tires, if they say don't drive, friends, please don't drive. Temperature-wise right now sitting at 0. It feels like -4. The wind chills are cool, but they are becoming wicked as we head throughout the rest of the week. Temperature-wise, it is pretty seasonal. Tomorrow, we get into Wednesday, things start to cool down, and we're watching for the snow to roll in. Again, just in time for that commute for a lot of people to and from work. So give yourself time, and if you take transit, bundle up accordingly.
We have been warned. Thank you so much, Jess. Appreciate it. That's it for us, but you can join Omar Seshadina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CV24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jess Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching. Have a great night.